Welcome to the Offsite channel. This is podcast number 1. And on this episode, we welcome Franco Piva to the channel. Franco is a well-renowned timber engineer specialising in mass timber and CLT. Afterwards, Chris and I discuss current news and any upcoming events in the calendar. But before we head over to meet the mass timber maestro, I want to give a quick shout out to the component manufacturing advertiser. I have an article on there just now about insulation, so give it a visit. Now, let's go meet Franco. Hi everyone, and we welcome Franco Piva to the Offsite channel. Hello Franco, thank you for taking the time to join us this afternoon. We really appreciate your time. I see you were at the Mass Timber Conference last week or the week before. Just wondering if there was anything that you would like to share from your visit.
Yeah, it was a great event. Definitely, I think the place to be for to see how the North American market is, but not only North American market. There were many exhibitors from Europe, and I must also say that it was a fantastic opportunity for networking, to meet new people, to meet new potential clients. After 2 years, I was used to travel a lot and to meet a lot of companies. Then COVID stopped everyone. And after 2 years, I think all the attendees were so excited to shake hands again and to meet people face to face.
Yeah, brilliant. Great. So yeah, again, thank you for joining us. And for those of the viewers that don't know Franco, I would invite him to being able to provide some background on yourself, on your company, where you came from, where you are now, how you got there, if that'd be possible.
Yeah. So I'm Franco Piva. I'm a structural engineer by training, and I always liked timber because I think it is the first. No, I think it is the first material human beings used to build their homes. So I really think it is a material that gives you the opportunity to create something. And when I go to visit the sites, I like to touch timber. Everyone likes to touch timber, which is something in my DNA, because I have my father, my brother, they even carve timber, and I grew up with timber all around me. So I decided to study it and to see how it can be engineered and what you can do with timber. I started working in the timber industry in 2003. At that time, nobody was talking about CLT. Almost nobody was talking about tall timber buildings. Well, at that time, I think the definition of tall timber building was 3-story, maybe. And now we are talking about 10, 12, 20 stories and even more. In 2007, I created the company Ergodomus Timber Engineering, and we are one of the very few engineering firms working 100% on timber construction. So we decided to, me and my colleagues decided to work on this niche market, and we started in 2017 working internationally, and so far we engineered something like 300 mass timber buildings, mass timber structures all over the world. It took a lot to gain to work on those projects, but yeah, we're very, very happy, and we are a very motivated team. I'm very proud of my colleagues. They are helping me a lot, of course. We work together.
So is timber framing the predominant method of construction in Italy, or was that a niche within itself, within your domestic market?
Well, at the moment, the global market of timber buildings in Italy is about 6%, 5 to 7%. It depends, but these are the numbers. And mainly more than 50% of those buildings are are made of CLT.
Okay.
So nobody knows exactly the percentage, but for sure it is more than 50% at the moment. And this percentage is growing. So we expect in the next years, but not only in Italy, all over the world, we expect to see growing interest around CLT and good numbers in terms of new buildings.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, today the global production of CLT is around is more than 1.5 millions of cubic meter per year. The total capacity of the plants around the world.
Yeah, that's quite substantial. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's in a growing industry as well. It's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's definitely growing. Here in Scotland, we are 85% light timber frame. That's our predominant method of construction in Scotland. But in England, it's the converse. It's only 15%. So, and that's within these islands. I'm not sure if Chris, you would know the figure in the United States, but perhaps state to state it may vary. But I would think that the United States is quite light timber frame friendly as well. So
yeah, it varies. A lot of the residential is timber, except around the coastal areas. That's when they start building with concrete, hurricane zones, things like that. Most of the apartment buildings these days, even when they do have podium slab type designs with retail below, it's all wood above, all timber.
Good. So I guess that goes on to the next question, Franco, would be, from our point of view, we're used to light timber framing. Certainly us two are, myself and Christopher. So the performance of mass timber in relation to, say, fire acoustics, etc., etc. I was just wondering if you could maybe give us a little summary and background about that.
Yeah. So it is. We could write a book about about the second question.
I think you have written a couple of books, Franco. I mean, I'm right in saying that you have. I remember doing some research on you just before this, and I think you do have a few books out. Again,
yeah,
you might mention those to the viewers, but
they are all in Italian, unfortunately, at the moment,
okay.
because the company is based in Italy, and as you probably hear from my accent, I'm Italian too.
Yeah.
But I can say that the new book will be only in English, and it is 85% ready.
Great.
The problem is my time. I do not have time to complete the 15%, but it will be very nice. There will be we talk about static, structural analysis, acoustic, modular buildings. But yeah, at the moment we are also looking for an international publisher. If someone interested, of course, they can contact me. I'll be very happy to get in contact with them. I can tell you how Italy discovered, let's say, the CLT. Because, and when it comes to talk about structural analysis, about structural behavior of CLT, we had some earthquakes in the past years, and we had one quite strong in 2012. After that, the government decided to build. The government had to build a lot of schools, new public buildings, and the time was very, very limited. So they said, we have about 80 days to build schools, to build those buildings. Yeah. There were, of course, different tenders, and we proved that the biggest advantages of timber one of the biggest advantages of timber is the time. You can assemble the elements in a very short time, and they are very light.
Yeah.
So when we talk about earthquake, the heavier the building, the stronger will be the earthquake, will be the horizontal forces. So if we reduce the self weight of the building by 30-40% or even more, then we can reduce by 30-40% approximately the horizontal forces due to the earthquake.
Okay.
Durability is a big issue. I'm quite worried sometimes when I see designers that are not aware of the durability problems, and they just think they just design timber as it is steel or concrete. There are some basic rules. We need to pay attention to the durability.
Yeah.
But there are many examples all over the world that proves that timber can last for centuries.
Yes.
In Norway, there are a few churches, and they are more than 500-700 years old without chemical products.
Yeah.
They are well designed. And in Japan, we have temples with the same age, more or less. So it can last for centuries, no problem. But we need to use the brain. We cannot say just use chemical products. We need to work on the details.
Yes,
Guarantee the durability.
designing it for the correct purpose and the correct detailing. I mean, over here, the design life would be about 60 years. It's supposed to. I think that's what we look for. But we tend in Scotland anyway to chemically preservative treat the timber for the external envelope of the timber building. Not so much. There's actually no statutory guidance to make sure that we do that, but it's a habitual thing that we do over here, and probably born out from before they had service zones, and if you had a leak in your plumbing and your external wall, to replace that would be a horrendous sort of experience you'd have to go through to remove walls and replace them. So
with that being said, Franco, there's other methods being used. Are you getting cooperation or resistance in moving this CLT into the mainstream? And what type of innovations are helping your firm propel this effort into the future?
Well, I feel quite lucky since I had the opportunity to see the evolution of the market from 2003 to now. So I saw what happened in the past 20 years, and finally we are moving, thanks to the North American market, we're moving from a situation like single family home or two-story buildings to large-scale buildings. But at the moment, the biggest obstacle is the lack of knowledge of the designers and of the cost estimators. Because the first question when you visit a developer, when you visit a builder, an investor, the first question is, how much does it cost? Is it competitive? Is it cheaper? Is it more expensive? So the very first question is the cost. The decisions are driven by the cost. We all love our planet. We like the sustainability. We like to go for green, for sustainable materials. But unfortunately, at the very end, we need to find a way to optimize, to reduce the cost. So I saw in many cases that the developers or the builders decided to go for another material because they didn't estimate correctly the cost. And we are trying to develop in-house methods to quickly estimate the cost of the structure of the buildings, and to show the client how we can reduce the cost, how we can optimize the cost. in general, I always tell the clients or especially the designers, the earlier you involve us, the better will be the result. But not because of us, but if architects and engineers work together since the beginning of the project, since the very early stage, they can really find the best structural pattern, the best position for beams, columns, etc. And consequently, they can reduce the cost of the structure.
Thank you. Good point.
The obstacle is the cost.
Good point. I mean, being a designer myself, I see that a lot where, you know, sometimes there may be something that's out of the scope of familiarity. So, you know, that being said, that leads me to the next question, which is what kind of software training is available? What kind of software are you using? And, you know, is there training allowing those to get proficient, and how is technology affecting that?
Well, very good question. I think the key point when we talk about timber buildings, the key point is the engineering part, how to engineer that building. When I say to engineer the building, I mean we need to draw every single element in 3D. We need to draw all the holes or recesses. Everything must be in a digital model, in a 3D model. I really like to say that what you draw is what you get, which means we draw something on our monitor, then there is we create in-house the files for the CNC machine, and we are sure that if we see an element, no matter the complexity of that element on the screen, we will get that element on site. To do this, you need to be very familiar with the CAD software, and HSB is our partner in when we work on those projects, because we draw all the elements, CLT panels, glulam beams, whatever, and then we create in-house the CNC files. Before creating those files, we share the IFC model with the client, with the developers or with the designers or with the manufacturers. They can check everything. I see it is called IFC file, but I prefer to call it 3D model. We send the 3D model, we send a digital 3D model to our client, which is a sort of a digital twin, and they can check everything. It is like to send a naked building. They click on an element, they see if it is glulam, CLT, the timber grade, and then they can say, yeah, boom, they stamp. This is what I want to have.
So how long does that process typically take, Franco, from concept to finalized design for production? How is that like asking how long a bit of string is, or do you have a set process and you know how long it will roughly take depending on the building?
Well, it can vary a lot. It could be 2 weeks if we get all the information from the designers, or it could take 6 months if we need to have the information from our client. We need to know exactly the size of the openings, the position of the openings. We cannot say, well, we will see on site. We will decide on site.
Yeah.
So I always tell my colleagues that there is a rule, 20-80. To get to the concept design, you need like 20% of the time. But to move from the concept design to the production, to a level of good for the production, you need 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And this means that you can't neglect. You cannot ignore anything. Every single detail must be analyzed.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
this takes a lot of time.
yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a difference, because a lot of our light timber frame buildings have a service zone on the inside, and so that it would be the dry lining that you would puncture for sockets or whatever. Then, but your actual timber frame is obviously set behind that. But sounds like it's a lot more fixed. Everything's fixed, and it needs to be where it needs to be. Sounds a lot more rigorous, certainly.
Yeah, here in the States, they they do a lot of wall panels and floor trusses, roof trusses, things like that, to where you're sending out a piece of a puzzle and you're just assembling it in the field. So that the productivity that happens out in the field, the labor cost is reduced tremendously by taking that approach. Within the company, they have the ability to share the same model with each other. But part of the challenge is that the architect and the engineer aren't using the same model. That model has to be recreated by the manufacturer of those products, that wall panel company, that truss company.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, is getting the right information and that collaboration. Everybody's afraid of, oh, that's mine and you can't have it, that kind of thing. So that's really the hurdle that we face here in America is that
collaboration issue.
Yeah, that joining together of getting to the same point. So thank you for that. That's very valuable regarding software training technology.
Yeah, I would like to add one more thing about this. When we work together with with designers, developers, etc., which are who are not familiar with this workflow, I tell them, look, you're familiar with the 3D printers. If you have to create something with a 3D printer, you cannot say, I need a home, just like that. You draw something very imprecise.
Yeah.
If it is imprecise on your screen, it will be imprecise on the 3D printer. So they realize that they need to draw every single detail, every single screw, and this changes the way they work, and in many cases it speeds up the process.
Yeah.
Because everyone now is familiar with the 3D printers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move on to sustainability, if that's okay, Franco. And I was at our, as I mentioned before we came on, I was at our trade association EGM recently, and sustainability is at the forefront of UK government policy on reducing carbon and producing net zero carbon homes. It is at the forefront, and I see that the uptake in using mass timber for larger projects, is integrated with that. It is integrated with that. It's okay for low-rise residential, but the next challenge is getting the larger buildings also converted to sustainably grown timber. And I was just wondering if you, with your experience doing projects around the world, do you find that the procurement of sustainably grown timbers, PEFC and FSC timbers, is a challenge, or is that quite readily available across the world?
Well, I can say about Europe, I know that I cannot say 100% of timber on the market, but we are pretty close to 100% of the timber we are using for the building industry. Comes from sustainable forest. This means that they harvest, they cut the timber, but during the summer they plant new timber, they plant new trees. So to make the forest sustainable in 20 years, 15, 20, 25 years, they will cut again the trees. So as far as I know, also in the US, the situation should be quite similar. There was a big debate during that conference about if we go for sustainable buildings, if we go for sustainable materials, then we're going to destroy the forests. This could be true, but in reality, we source the material from sustainable forests. So I do not see, if we are smart as human beings, and we must be, we will have enough timber. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we're coming to the end of our time with you at the moment. So I would just like to again thank you for coming on to the channel and just invite you to speak about if you are going to any other conferences where people can come and meet you, if there's any projects of note in your own pipeline, and if your company has anything that you'd like to mention, Franco. So.
Well, at the moment, there are no other conferences in the next few weeks.
Okay.
I think the next one will be it should be in San Francisco, the IWBC, which would be another place to be to see what is happening around the world. One of the most important ones will be in December in Innsbruck, the IHF, International Holzbau Forum. But of course, people can see can be updated if they follow us on they follow the company page on LinkedIn. They will be updated about or also on the website. Of course, they can be updated about our movements, our conferences. If I will be, I'm happy to announce that we are organizing a big event which will be in May, which will happen on May 26th, and we called this event DF May, playing with the two words DF May and May, because it will happen this month in May. And it will be we will have 5 speakers, 5 international speakers. They will bring their experience in the timber industry and in the building industry, and we aim to show how DFMA can change the way they work, how it can change the workflow, and especially we will show some very innovative technologies, not very well known until now, and it will be very, very exciting to be there. And this 2 hours conference for free, and yeah, I look forward to meeting you at that conference too. It will be virtual, but the best we can do at the moment.
Yeah, well, I've signed up. I think I sent the link to Chris. I think he's signed up as well, and we look forward to hearing from your fountain of knowledge that you have within this mass timber industry. It's new to myself. Like I said, we are used to more light framing, so this is familiar but different. Is the best way to put it, I think. So, thank you very much, Franco, for joining us this afternoon. I really appreciate it. We did make it on the 30 minutes. Which is
thank you, Franco. I appreciate your time coming out.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Absolutely. It was interesting for me as well.
Welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed the interview with Franco. I know we did. And my biggest takeaway from our meeting with him was how the products that he designs and supplies are precision engineered and designed. Chris, would you agree with that? That was your takeaway as well.
Yeah, I would, Greg. He presented an incredible product. I mean, this is something that we all can learn in the industry. That the precision, the fact that his product is such a I can't even put it into words, man. Such a unique thing. It's more common, like here in the States. I mean, it's common to use wood products, but with what he's doing with mass timber and all of that, it's quite a different animal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, timber frame over in the UK, Scotland particularly, is common as well. But obviously, mass timber that he's involved with still, I would say, is quite novel. On the whole, you do get glulam structures, for example, but mass timber buildings like he's talking about are certainly the next level up for taking it to more high-rise structures. So it's all very interesting. I really want to thank Franco again for coming on. Obviously, this is our first podcast, so he's taking a chance on us as well. So I appreciate that, and that says quite a lot about him giving up his time to come and speak with us.
Agreed.
So thank you very much, Franco. Appreciate your time, and we hope to see you on the podcast again in the future, perhaps. So we've got some news for you from the UK. So we have the new technical handbook, which is going to be available and published in May. First week in May, this has been recorded. I have not seen any sign of it as yet. But what is going to be included in the new technical handbook is the uplift in energy standards for this year, which is going to be implemented in October 22. And it'll also encompass the ban on combustible cladding systems, and that will be for 11 meters story heights and above, and that will be implemented from June 22. Over to Chris, if you got anything from the States.
I got one from British Columbia. There's it looks like Google's going to be building their first mass timber office building. So that should be interesting to watch as that goes on. Google's a name that everybody knows. Should be interesting to see that develop.
That's interesting. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. Anybody can maybe share that in the next one. So back over in the UK, we have the BRE are starting the new methodology to measure the energy performance of UK homes. It's going to be part of a 3-year project for the standard assessment procedure, SAP 11, which will give a high priority to carbon reduction than energy efficiency to promote technologies such as heat pumps and renewable energy. And this is going to be in line with the new Future Home Standard, which is going to be implemented in 2025.
All right, and it looks like softwood lumber prices are starting to stabilize. I keep in touch with Matt Lehman, a leader here in the States in the lumber market. There's something out there called Materials Exchange that they're doing on LinkedIn. So if you want to tune in on that, it happens around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, depending on what time zone you're in. Or they run a live stream talking about different things in the lumber market. So that's nice to see the prices starting to stabilize. We had a huge spike during COVID. So
yeah, it's another one of those ones. Maybe we'll see how the Ukraine situation turns out with Russia imports. We actually in Europe import timber across the continent, so we're finding a wee bit of uncertainty, certainly to do with that aspect. I don't know if it's probably sounding like it's slightly different over in North America, so it's good for you guys. So
yeah, so it's nice to have that stabilization. The housing market has just been going crazy over here, so that'll certainly help.
Okay, the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre has changed its name to BEST, which stands for Built Environment Smarter Transformation. This is prioritising the built environment's transition to zero carbon and improving the sector's contribution to fight against climate change.
All right, and the final piece I have is we're starting to see a little bit of a change in the industry, right? I mean, being that, roughly 90% of the houses here in North America, especially in the United States, are built out of wood and timber. We're starting to see a movement now moving towards using some of that again, some recycled material, creating some type of biomaterial. Hadn't really seen a lot of this yet, so I was kind of surprised to see it. University of Arkansas ran an article today that was based in April, and it's pretty interesting to read. So thought I'd share that as well.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot for sharing that. That's ideal. I have a couple, or actually 3 events that we can have a quick look at. And the first is actually tying in quite nicely with what you've actually just said. It's Timber and the Circular Economy webinar. This is going to be conducted by Charlie Law, and he's the sustainability, struggling with the words today, Chris, the sustainability director at TD UK, and that is going to be on the 20th of May. So that's a good one to catch as well. And we have another webinar. It's the AECB that are conducting this one, and it's in relation to PartL. Here we go, PartL 2021 and the Future Home Standard. And the thing is, Chris, is this they have their own standard. So they're basically saying with this uplift in the new regulations, is their regulations still relevant? So good one to catch on that as well. And so moving away from the webinars, we have Digital Construction Week coming up on the 18th and 19th of May. It's at the Excel in London, and it's looking at tech and tools of solving the built environment's most pressing challenges is what they put it as. So yeah, you'll see speakers and brands all in one place down at the Excel there, with a focus on digital construction, which would be quite interesting. And the final one I have is the one that Franco is holding, our guest this podcast, and that's it's free conference as well on design for manufacturing and assembly. So definitely one to catch is Franco's one there, which is free. Well, always like a freebie, don't we? So that is ideal. So that's the news and events that we've had a look through and found for the viewers this podcast. And so I say thank you if you're still watching. Thank you for staying and watching the podcast and listening. Actually, let us know if you'd like an audio only version of this. What do you think of that, Chris? And that's maybe a not a bad idea if we can get this hosted on audio format only as well. You can maybe listen to it in the car, but certainly let us know. And we appreciate you staying with us and watching. And we hope you enjoyed the interview with Franco. It's our intention to have more experts joining us on every podcast. So,
Greg, maybe you also want to run the email address if anybody has any comments or suggestions on future guests that we can bring on. We'd be happy to hear that at the offsite channel.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I think we'll close out, Chris, and I appreciate your time, and we will see you on the next video.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Take care,
Bye
everyone.
now. Bye.